They thought she was just another tired mother, until her son whispered what she used to be. And when the soldiers shoved her to the ground, daylight itself seemed to hold its breath. They never expected a quiet Saturday morning at the base housing complex to turn into a showdown. But within seconds, everything changed. The slap of boots on pavement, a boy's terrified gasp, and a woman standing back up with the kind of stillness that only comes from a life lived on the edge. Before I tell you what happened next, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I love knowing who's listening. It began when two young soldiers, new recruits, barely out of training, mocked 12-year-old Micah for wearing a small Navy trident pin on his jacket. They didn't know it belonged to his mother. They didn't know she had earned it. They didn't know the ocean itself seemed to bend around her when she worked. They only knew she looked tired that morning, carrying grocery bags in one hand and balancing a coffee cup in the other. And tired, they assumed, meant weak. Micah tried to step back, but one of the soldiers blocked him. Another flicked the pin with his finger and laughed, a sharp, careless sound that made neighbors peek through blinds. A few stepped onto their porches, sensing a shift in the air. Even the sunlight felt harsher, angling down across the pavement like a spotlight. Then they shoved her. It wasn't hard, but it was enough to make her stumble, enough to knock the cup from her hand, enough for Micah to scream, "Stop!" And that tiny scream, that fragile breaking voice, ignited something in her chest she thought she'd buried the day she left the teams. Micah trembled, grabbing her arm. "Mom, don't." But she wasn't angry. That was the terrifying part. She was calm. Too calm. The kind of calm that rises in the spaces between heartbeats. The soldiers laughed again, but the sound wavered, because something in the atmosphere had changed. The dust on the pavement drifted upward in the late morning breeze, swirling around her feet. A neighbor's wind chime rattled softly, though no wind touched it. Even the young soldiers straightened their backs without understanding why. She hadn't revealed her identity yet. But Micah had, he whispered, barely audible. "Mom, they don't know you were a SEAL." She wished he hadn't said it. Not because it was a secret, but because of what it meant she might have to do next. She warned them once. Just once. Walk away. They didn't. Instead, one reached for Micah again. Crowd murmurs rose. A lawnmower 3 houses down went silent. The world seemed to lean in. When she moved, it was like the sun brightened. Fast. Decisive. Practiced. She didn't strike them. She redirected, letting gravity and their own momentum betray them. One lost his footing and hit the ground. The other froze, eyes wide, realizing too late that this was no ordinary mother. Neighbors stepped closer, forming a loose circle. Some whispered, "She's trained." Others simply stared, sensing they were witnessing something they'd remember for years. The soldier on the ground tried to stand, but she placed one hand on his shoulder, not forcefully, simply firmly, and said, "This is not how you treat civilians, and not how you treat children." Her voice didn't rise. It didn't need to. It carried enough authority to stop a wave. Then the senior officer from the nearby barracks arrived, breathless. He took one look at her face, and recognition drained the color from his own. "Ma'am," he whispered, straightening his uniform. "Commander Hale. I didn't know you lived on this side of the housing." The crowd absorbed the revelation like a shockwave. Navy SEAL. Former commander. A legend most of them thought was just a story. The recruits went pale. One stammered an apology. The other dropped his gaze, shaking. She didn't humiliate them. She didn't escalate. She simply helped the boy up, brushed the dust off Micah's jacket, and said, "Learn from this. Strength isn't proven by hurting people. It's proven by protecting them." And in that moment, every neighbor felt the truth settle warm and bright beneath the midday sun. Because courage doesn't always roar. Sometimes it stands quietly, holding a child's hand, refusing to let darkness win. Because kindness doesn't vanish. It waits, and it finds its way back, just like daylight returning to the moment they thought she'd stay down. If this story moved you, make sure to like, comment and subscribe, and tell me what kind of real-life courage you want to hear about next.